She was born beneath a sky that would one day call her name a restless child, who would not be tamed by fences or fear. Her eyes always followed the flight of birds as if they held the secret to something she could not yet name. In those early years, she was not meant to sit still, she was meant to rise above the earth. She was meant to listen to the whisper of clouds. Amelia Earhart grew with a hunger that few could understand. The world told her to dream small, to stay grounded, to behave, but she carried something wild inside her, something that refused to bend. She wanted to feel the wind, not as it brushed her face from the ground, but as it surrounded her high above the world. When she saw her first airplane, she felt it. Before she understood it, the metal wing gleamed like possibility, and she knew someday, somehow, she would touch the sky. But dreams have their price, and the world is heavy for those who dare to rise. She worked through doubt, through fear, through whispers that told her flying was not for women, that courage had a gender. She smiled softly and walked past every voice that tried to cage her. She spent long nights studying engines, maps, and the endless art of the air. She saved money piece by piece for lessons, while others laughed. She did not stop. She could not stop the first time she touched the controls. The world below disappeared, and her heart learned the language of the wind. She said it felt like freedom, not the kind written in books, but the kind that lives in your blood. Each flight carried her higher. Each moment in the air taught her that the sky belonged to no one. It was not a place to conquer, but a place to understand. Her courage was quiet, not loud or angry. It was the kind that burns slowly, steady as a flame that refuses to die. She became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic, a fragile shape against an endless sea. Every gust, every shadow tested her will, but she held on with both hands and both dreams. The ocean roared beneath her like a living thing waiting to swallow her whole. But she kept going, hour after hour, until the horizon softened and land appeared. Her plane touched down and history shifted. Crowds cheered her name, they called her a hero, but she did not see herself that way. She saw only the next horizon, the next distance waiting. She spoke gently about courage, saying it was not the absence of fear, but the decision to go anyway, to move even when the world tells you to stand still. She used her fame not for glory, but to show girls that their dreams were not impossible, that the sky had room for them too. She wrote books. She gave talks. She became a symbol of hope. But symbols are heavy, and fame carries its own kind of loneliness. She smiled for cameras, but her eyes always wandered toward the clouds. She wanted to keep flying farther, higher, deeper into the silence of the sky. The earth was too small for her heart. She began to plan the greatest journey of all, to fly around the world. Not for applause, not for history, but for the pure, quiet truth of it, to know she could. She prepared with meticulous care, studying routes, weather patterns, ocean distances. Her navigator Fred Noonan joined her, and together they became two souls chasing a circle around the earth. When the journey began, the world watched. Every mile they crossed felt like a heartbeat, the maps filled with lines of courage, stretching across continents, through storms, through sleepless nights. They kept going. Islands appeared and vanished beneath them, their plane a small fragile bird against the endless blue. They were close, so close to completing the dream. When they reached the final stretch, the Pacific waiting below like a mirror of uncertainty. It was the morning of July 2nd, 1937. The air was calm, but inside the radio static was restless. Amelia's voice came through, faint, clear, and human, saying, "We are running north and south." Then silence. The world waited. Minutes became hours, hours became days. Search ships combed the seaplanes, traced invisible paths across the waves. But the ocean kept its secret. The world that had watched her rise now watched the horizon for her return, but the sky gave nothing back. Days turned to weeks, and the silence deepened. Her name echoed through radios and newspapers, but no answer came. It was as if the sky had swallowed her whole, as if the ocean had taken her in its arms and refused to let go. Search teams traced miles of empty water. They looked for fragments, for wings, for hope, but all they found was the endless horizon. She had loved so much. Somewhere in that vast blue, she vanished, leaving behind not a body but a question. The world mourned in disbelief, for how could someone so alive, so unstoppable, simply disappear? People stood on shores staring out at the waves, as though they might see her return. The woman who touched the sky now belonged to it completely. They built theories. Some said she crashed, some whispered she survived, some dreamed she lived on an island under the watch of stars. But the truth never surfaced. It drifted with the tide, a secret kept by the deep. But death could not hold her name. Her story was too fierce to fade. Schools spoke her words, children read her name in books. Women looked at the sky and saw not emptiness but promise. They saw what she saw, that courage is not found in safety, that dreams are not meant to stay grounded. Every flight that lifted after her carried a piece of her spirit. Each wing slicing through the air whispered her name like a vow. Her family waited, her friends hoped, her mother kept her photograph near the window and said, "The wind still speaks to me sometimes. I hear her laugh, the sound of it caught between the clouds." The world learned to live with her absence but never stopped listening for her echo. She became a legend, but not the kind carved in stone. Hers was softer, made of wind and memory, of ocean light and longing. Some nights pilots swear they feel her beside them when the stars are bright and the sea glows below. Some say they hear her voice in the radio, static, faint but clear, a whisper reminding them to keep going, to keep believing, to keep flying. Maybe it is only imagination, maybe it is something more. Maybe the sky remembers every soul brave enough to trust it. She was not chasing fame, she was chasing freedom. She wanted to break the horizon open and see what lay beyond, and in doing so she broke something open inside us all. She made the impossible seem near, the unreachable feel familiar. She taught us that the sky is not above us, it is within us, waiting to be found. Years passed and her plane never returned, but her dream never landed. Museums hold her photographs, her flight suits, her letters, the lines she wrote about courage and fear and solitude. When she said adventure is worthwhile in itself, it was not a quote. It was a heartbeat she carried in her chest. Until the end she lived that truth fully, until the last breath of wind touched her face. Now when the wind rises across the ocean, when the light fades into that blue that never ends, you can almost feel her there, not lost, not gone, but flying still between worlds, between memory and myth. The same girl who once watched birds in the sky, now forever one of them, unseen but felt, known but unknowable. There is a silence in her story, a quiet that lingers after the last word, a silence that feels like the moment before dawn, when the air is holding its breath, waiting for light. That silence is her, it is the sound of courage suspended in time, the sound of a dream that refused to end. And maybe that is where her story truly lives, not in the crash, not in the mystery, not in the endless search, but in the choice she made again and again to rise, to lift herself beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond the pull of the earth. Maybe her greatest flight was not the one she planned, but the one that never ended. Somewhere over the Pacific, the sun still burns gold over waves that have forgotten her shape, but not her name. And somewhere in that endless space between sea and sky, she is still flying, her hands on the controls, her eyes on the horizon, her heart steady as ever, chasing a dawn that never fades. The world may never find her, but perhaps that was never the point, because she was never meant to return. She was meant to become part of what she loved, the wind, the cloud, the infinite, the sky. She touched it once and it never let her go. So when you look up and the sky seems too wide, too far, too untouchable, remember her. Remember the woman who refused to be grounded, who believed that freedom was worth every risk. Remember her, not for how she vanished, but for how she lived and how she rose, and how she still flies somewhere beyond the edge of sight. Amelia Earhart, the woman who touched the sky and never came down.